and it's a title given to Christ, Philippians 2:11. And my name translates in the Hebrew language as Yahweh.
Oh boy, Kyrie Irving. Yeah, he posted that tweet with a link to a movie that was quite problematic.
I went on the Amazon Prime. I was like, you know what? Let me see if there are any documentaries on Yahweh. Went in the search bar, typed in Yahweh. That came up.
Okay, sounds reasonable.
Went out and shared it on my platform. That was my night.
And I know a lot of people have their narratives.
If we go back a year or so, the fact that he took such a hard stance and had enough guts to tell the media, my body, my choice.
Yeah, some people think this all began with the vaccine.
I think it goes back to that he started to wear, I guess, his version of the scarlet letter, that yes, he became a marked man and someone that would be described as a heretic.
And of course, with that being the narrative that some people have, the NBA had no choice but to crucify him.
In terms of the backlash, or what people call it, we're in 2022. History is not supposed to be hidden from anybody. And I'm not a divisive person when it comes to religion. I embrace all walks of life. You see it on all my platforms.
And so when you post the things Kyrie does, I mean, just be prepared, as the Sir Double D said.
Be prepared to face the consequences.
And I think Kyrie, I mean, he was fucking around way too much.
It's not about educating yourself on what Semitism is and what anti-Semitism is. It's really about learning the root word of where these come from and understanding that this is an African heritage that is also belonging to the people. Africa is in it, whether we want to dismiss it or not.
So it's clear to those close to Kyrie that he's lost and he's searching for an identity.
What I've noticed throughout the years of Kyrie is that he's a guy who's really trying to find his identity, right? He's on this quest of searching for information and knowledge.
But you gotta come prepared.
You gotta be more mindful of doing more research, checking your sources, reviewing before you actually, promote anything.
It.
Right, exactly.
But you would see here, Kyrie, I mean, he's being a bit too reckless.
The claims of anti-Semitism and who are the original chosen people of God, and we go into these religious conversations and it's a big no-no. I don't live my way like that. I don't live my life that way. Excuse me. I grew up in a melting pot, and I say a melting pot of all races: white, black, red, yellow, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, and you can see the way I live my life now. I'm not here to be divisive, so they could push their agenda. I don't want to say they, because I'm not identifying any one group or race of people, but I'm in a unique position to have a level of influence on my community.
I'm glad to see he's acknowledging how big his influence is, but he has to be aware that extends outside of his, rabid sycophants.
And what I post does not mean that I support everything that's being said or everything that's being done, or I'm campaigning for anything. All I do is post things for my people in my community and those that it's actually going to impact. Anybody else that has criticism, and obviously wasn't meant for them.
And seeing that he cares little about how reckless he is, yeah, he's going to get into some trouble.
And I think that's something that Kyrie's probably lacking right now, is that he's not really doing the full vetting of what he's promoting, and I think that's getting him into trouble.
Another problem we have here is how combative Kyrie is with the media.
Hopefully I'm understanding what you said, and I want to make sure I get it right, because I don't want to misquote any part of it.
I don't expect understanding from a media conglomerate group that sincerely talks about the game of basketball, and then we bring up religion as if it's correlative at times when it's convenient for people to bring it up. So please just be direct with your question, so we can move on from this and I could talk about the game and go home to my son Elohim and my wife Marlene, okay?
How do you expect people to give you the same grace that the media would like to be afforded if you're not going to afford them the same grace that you would want people to afford you?
We're in 2022. It's on Amazon, a public platform. Whether you want to go watch it or not is up to you. There's things being posted every day. I am no different than the next human being, so don't treat me any different. You guys come in here and make up this powerful influence I have.
No way, he contradicted himself already.
They could push their agenda. I don't want to say they, because I'm not identifying any one group or race of people, but I'm in a unique position to have a level of influence on my community.
Oh, come on. Now he's acting like the victim, saying he's like everybody else, when you have 4.6 million followers. And now Jay Williams, he brings an interesting point here.
I watched the entire film. I watched the entire thing. There's a lot of things in the film I disagree with. The curiosity nature of it is interesting. But I will say this. Where is that same attention and energy for the platform that is promoting it and profiting off of it? I don't hear any of that talk around Jeff Bezos and Amazon. I don't hear anybody talking about that.
Yeah, this argument, oh boy. Let's dissect it a little, okay? Amazon Prime as a platform, right? They allow people to publish their works, right? And of course, you can make this argument. And don't forget, this is something that YouTube had to go through years ago. right? And the apocalypse that happened. The people saying this are the same people that are going to get upset when Amazon inevitably then censors almost every controversial piece of work they have on their platform.
Am I to take it that this was what you shared was not something that you've even watched? This was you did watch it, or either watch it or read it.
I had a lot of time last year to read a lot, read a whole bunch, good and bad, about the truth of our world.
This right here is the face of an idiot, not realizing how incriminating what you just said is.
Over top of the adultery of, oh, you cannot post that. Why not?
Well, I'll tell you why. Well, this movie and the book that's the movie's based on, which is now #1 bestseller, thanks a lot, Kyrie. This movie is not just based on the idea that the black Hebrews are the original Jews. No, this movie promotes Holocaust denialism. It has quotes from Hitler, basically promoting their ideals. And yeah, just pause if you want to read the rest. I don't want to talk too much about this, okay? Because Kyrie now, he's being condemned by Joe Tsai, saying, this is bigger than basketball. Very classy response here. Kyrie saying the anti-Semitic label is not justified. To show you how deluded this guy is, yeah, this is the same guy that would say he's God. If you don't shut the hell up, man. Yeah, this Muslim here apparently doesn't know the biggest sin in Islam is false idolatry. Okay, this is textbook right here.
Understanding that Joe is working with the ADL, I know he has a prior relationship with them also. Why was it decided that in the light of that, it makes sense for Kyrie to continue to be playing and around the team right now while that is going on? Like, why not have him take a break or step away or something, as opposed to the path you guys have taken?
I think, we've tried to do a little bit of both, to be honest. Like, by keeping him, he did not do media last night. He's not going to do media tonight. And at some point he will come up here and do media again. But I think at this point it's we don't want to cause, more fuss right now.
Did you really think you would avoid the situation if he would just not talk?
More interaction with people, like let's let him simmer down and let's let this whole, let's the cooler minds prevail. And I think we need to go out and become, educate ourselves, educate the whole group, and get some direction, seek from the experts, and the experts is, one of them is certainly the ADL.
And it's not a coincidence that, not just the Nets organization, but you got Adam Silver in the NBA and, of course, the NBPA, the Players Union, not wanting to crack down on Kyrie.
I was probably one of the first guys on Twitter. And when I realized the power it had, I knew I had to be very responsible. You have to be aware of what you're doing. And you have to be aware that sometimes when you put stuff out, not everybody's going to like it.
And Shaq, man, he had some very blunt words to say to Kyrie.
Some people are conscious, some people are not. I could tell he's not conscious. He doesn't really care what's going on. But us, I know that the game that we used to love and we promote, it brings people together.
Ain't that the truth, baby?
And it hurts me sometimes when we have to sit up here to talk about stuff that divides the game. Now we got to answer for what this idiot has done.
And people making the same arguments of, the Amazon, they should be blamed, saying, Shaq, he owns theaters that aired the same movie. Bro, if you don't shut the hell up, man, we all know what you're doing. You're not slick by saying that, bro. This is just a deflection for Kyrie not to be held accountable.
I think the NBA dropped the ball.
In what way?
I think he should have been suspended. I think Adam should have suspended him. First of all, Adam's Jewish. You can't take my $40 million and insult my religion. If you're going to insult me, you have the right, but I have the right to say, no, you're not going to take my $40 million and insult my religion.
And all of a sudden, these guys you look up to, they say something you disagree with. Their response is, they're shills, they're corporate, they're paid off. And it's funny how Kenny, people don't say the same thing about him.
Well, firstly, if we're going to take what he says on a Twitter, we have to take everything he says. So if I'm going to take everything he says, I'm going to believe that he doesn't support or any of the views or promote the views of it. He said it right in my face. I have to accept that.
That is such a dumb argument. Holy shit. You take what Kyrie does and take what Kyrie says. If they contradict each other, it's clear that you're not going to take all of it as face value. I mean, come on. Kenny, you're way too smart to be saying stuff like that.
But I also believe that the reporter did have a right to ask the question.
Oh, sure.
That's it. So, and that's really where the argument became. You don't have a right to ask me that question. I do believe that. And based on this, for Kyrie, is that he has put himself as, he says, I'm the voice for some of the speechless when during the COVID. So now he has transcended from basketball and became an activist politically.
Oh, so he was just fence sitting, because that last part was actually a great point.
Kyrie would have you believe he has done his research and that he knows. And oh, by the way, I'm not gonna waste my energy trying to explain to y'all because y'all are not going to get it.
With Kyrie Irving, there's a certain pattern that you begin to notice.
And what y'all are saying is, then what the hell you posted on social media for? He doesn't get it, but he thinks you don't get it. He thinks we don't get it. We're the lost souls.
That really is the best take on how Kyrie sees the world, and now he's having to answer for it.
Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets are each pledging to donate $500,000 to organizations that, quote, eradicate hate, and to work with the Anti-Defamation League to fight anti-Semitism.
And yes, he put out a statement. Let's listen in on what he has to say.
I oppose all forms of hatred and oppression and stand strong with communities that are marginalized and impacted every day. I'm aware of the negative impact of my post towards the Jewish community, and I take responsibility. I do not believe everything said in the documentary was true or reflects my morals and principles. I'm a human being learning from all walks of life, and I intend to do so with an open mind and a willingness to listen. So from my family and I, we meant no harm to any one group, race, or religion of people, and wish to only be a beacon of truth and light.
A beacon of truth and light has to carry himself as such, and clearly he is not.
The only problem that I personally have with it is, and this is according to sources, is that he did not personally show up to the ADL meeting.
But why not? What's he so afraid of?
To even talk it through, I'm like, he's just swaying away from accountability once again. And that's what makes me continue to worry about this team and about ultimately Kyrie Irving's image, about not handling things and addressing it directly.
And you guys got to understand how dangerous this is for many people.
For Jewish people, we are living in an environment of elevated anti-Semitism, as you explained in the intro. And just about an hour ago, the FBI released an alert about a potential imminent threat against Jewish institutions in New Jersey. We're dealing with, in 2021, the highest number of anti-Semitic incidents the ADL has ever tracked in 45 years of doing this work.
And honestly, this whole ADL Kyrie donation, this is just screaming PR stunt.
So when I first heard about the donation to the ADL, I thought, well, what is this about? He hasn't apologized. You're just throwing money at this?
Yeah.
You think you can get him out on the court by throwing money at the problem without an apology? And I thought, you got to be kidding, right?
And you got people like Tony here that's Jewish, right? You got guys, they have to go through this every day.
Can you educate us as to the real-life consequences of a post like this?
Absolutely. The real-life consequences start in a tweet, but end up in my driveway here in Los Angeles when I get a baggie saying the Jews are responsible for COVID, the Jews are responsible for XYZ. The real-life consequences are when last week, in my own Jewish school of middle school students on their way to a flag football game, their coach, who was not Jewish, they're having an argument or a discussion about Kanye and Adidas, and the coach says, yes, I believe with Kanye. That was the only adult on the bus. And those kids were scared out of their mind, but they were educated, and they were able to defend themselves. And the last consequence was from an email I got from a fourth grader yesterday that says, I love wearing Kyrie shoes, and I am so sad in my heart that I put those shoes away. And so those are consequences, not about basketball and shoes, which, believe me, I watched you guys growing up. You were our role models. But we have to be better role models in terms of our hearts and our souls.
And Kyrie shows up to another press conference this time. Let's hope that he's learned from this.
Hindsight, are you sorry for the hurt that your post caused people?
I take my responsibility for posting that. Some things that were questionable in there, untrue. Like I said, and the first time you guys asked me when I was sitting on that stage, I don't believe everything that everybody posts. It's a documentary. So I take my responsibility.
And from what we've seen initially in this conference, I mean, it sounded like he was actually going to be held accountable.
It seems like Adam Silver wanted to hear the word, I apologize, or in your mind, you said I didn't mean to cause any harm. Were you apologizing or did you not apologize?
I didn't mean to cause any harm. I'm not the one that made the documentary.
But you promoted it though. Like, what?
What are the specific things in the documentary that you don't believe are true and that you don't believe represent your morals?
I think some of the criticism of the Jewish faith in the community, for sure. Some points made in there that were unfortunate.
Yeah, it's starting to sound like he's not sorry.
Are you surprised that reaction and some of the things that you did
hurt people.
Yeah, I think I can ask a better question. It's just, where were you when I was a kid, figuring out that 300 million of my ancestors are buried in America?
Yo, is this dude serious?
Where were you guys asking those same questions when I was a kid learning about the traumatic events of my familial history?
Oh, this is embarrassing. Dude, you're once again running away from accountability?
I'm here answering questions of whether or not I'm sorry or not on something I didn't create. And it was something I shared, and I'm telling everybody I'm taking responsibility, then that's where I sit.
Just because you keep repeating that you're taking responsibility doesn't mean you're actually doing so, okay? Your actions have to speak louder.
But I also am a human being that's 30 years old, and I've been growing up in a country that's told me that I wasn't worth anything, and I came from a slave class. And I come from a people that are meant to be treated the way we get treated every day. I'm not here to compare anyone's atrocities or tragic events that their families have dealt with generations of time. I'm just here to continue to expose things that our world continues to put in darkness. Light. I'm a beacon of light. That's what I'm here to do. You guys ask me questions about basketball, I give you my expert opinion.
Michael Bobon's take on this, I completely agree with it, man.
Kyrie Irving did not, as usual, take any accountability for, in this case, his words. He never does. Now, among his words, and I listened to every word of his press conference, he said he is a guiding light. He, Kyrie Irving, a guiding light, which says to me, because he loses me there, that he's just a dangerous egomaniac.
And right here, this has to be the most damning part of this whole presser here.
Kyrie, for the record, do you have any anti-Semitic beliefs?
Again, I'm gonna repeat. I don't know how the label becomes justified because you guys ask me the same questions over and over again. But this is not gonna turn into a spin around cycle of questions upon questions. I told you guys how I felt. I respect all walks of life and embrace all walks of life. That's where I sit.
I think what people want to hear, though, is just a yes or no on that question. Yes or no.
I cannot be anti-Semitic if I know where I come from. I cannot be anti-Semitic if I know where I come from.
This dude really thought he was smart for saying the equivalent of, oh, I'm not racist if I'm black. Like, shut up, dude. And Nick Friedel, the guy that Kyrie was squaring off in the pressers, I mean, I don't like him, but he has a point here.
He doesn't want to say anything that he doesn't fully believe on. And when he gets pushed, he wants to make sure that he is in control.
And I know that question about his anti-Semitic beliefs was a weird one, but all he had to say was no.
And it was so clear, guys. All he had to say was, I don't have any anti-Semitic views. That was what the Nets wanted to hear. That is certainly what the NBA wanted to hear. And it didn't happen. And it has become such a bigger controversy than it had to be.
And it got to the point where Adam Silver finally stepped in and called him out by name.
NBA Commissioner Adam Silver issued a statement saying Irving made a, quote, reckless decision to post a link to a film containing deeply offensive anti-Semitic material.
And after being given tons of chances of apologizing without obfuscating like he always does, trying to deflect, yeah, he got suspended for at least 5 games.
By him saying, well, I'm pro my brothers, I'm pro my sisters, okay. But you can't be so pro that you step on other people to try to prop your people up. That's what Kyrie didn't get.
Ultimately, Kyrie has to lie on the bed he made for himself.
Certain sentiments are just beyond the pale of acceptability, and Kyrie Irving's refusal to disavow those sentiments day after day after day, as reported in Adrian and Ramona's story, ignoring text message from the Nets governor, Joe Tsai.
It says here for nearly a week, Joe Tsai kept giving Kyrie a chance to try to make things right, and he did not even return a single one of his text messages.
On a human level, it's just not okay, it's not acceptable, it's sad, and it has caused enormous pain for lots of people. And that just brings you to the next domino that will fall, which is it just feels inevitable that other teams are going to start calling the Nets about Kevin Durant.
And yeah, it wasn't only Sean Marks that had to answer for this stuff, KD as well. Now you're dragging KD to this? Man, this is just sad, bro.
Raw reaction coming off of Kyrie earning suspension.
It's an unfortunate situation for people that are impacted by this situation. I mean, it just sucks all around for everybody, and hopefully we can move past it.
That response right there, you could tell he's just sick of it. He's tired of all this nonsense that Kyrie keeps bringing up to him, bro.
Kevin, what did you think of Kyrie's conduct this week?
I mean, I ain't here to judge nobody or talk down on nobody for how they feel or their views or anything. It's just, I just didn't like anything that went on. I feel like it was all unnecessary. I felt like we could have just kept playing basketball and kept quiet as an organization.
You could tell he's trying to be careful with his words here.
I just don't like none of it.
And for anyone coming at KD for what he said there, come on, man. Let's not go that far, okay? Bottom line is, Kyrie has to meet certain conditions to be reinstated, and the Nets' title hopes are gone.
The Nets will win an NBA championship with Kyrie and KD. Take it or shake it.
Shake that. Shake that.
Shake it.
Or you guys, is there anybody on our show, production crew in general, that thinks that this actually could happen?
No.
Heavens, no.